Hey there, Lori Kennedy here, and this is the Business of Becoming podcast for entrepreneurs who want to build the business and life of their dreams all on their own terms. Whether you're into marketing, sales, online business strategy, paid advertising, technology and scaling, or personal relationships, health, wealth, mindset, raising children, and spirituality, the Business of Becoming podcast is your weekly dose of no-holds-barred conversations, inspiration, and practical training so you can up-level your business and your life all on your own terms. All right. We are back again, and in this episode, I am sharing something that makes me tens of thousands of dollars in my business every single month, and it is a framework that I only wish that I had when I was first starting my nutrition practice back in 2007. This episode is really important, and I know that you're going to want to take lots of notes, so go and grab a pen and paper. You can also head over to the show notes, which can be found at lorikennedyinc.com/19. There is a handy dandy download that you are going to want to print right before you listen to this episode. So without further ado, I bring you the Business of Becoming podcast, episode 19. Well, hello there, and welcome to the Business of Becoming podcast, episode number 19. I am your host, Lori Kennedy, and today's episode features the Health Expert Business Model, which is a foundational framework that I know I would have loved to have had when I was first starting out. And in this episode, I'm going to walk you through the Health Expert Business Model, which I said is a framework that you can follow so that you can stop doing all of the things and just focus on the few steps that are really necessary to get your business off the ground, regardless of the designation you hold or who your ideal client is. And this model even works well if you are in clinic, so if you are offline, or if you're in direct sales. So you're going to want to download the Health Expert Business Model Blueprint at thewbh.com/podcast-19. So that's thewbh.com/podcast-19. Now, I don't know if it was the same for you, but when I was first starting out as a registered holistic nutritionist, sadly and embarrassingly so, I had no idea that I was even running a business, let alone a clue about choosing the right business model for me. If someone would have told me that I was starting up a business as an entrepreneur back in 2007, my response probably would have been, what's an entrepreneur? And no, I'm not running a business. I'm just a registered holistic nutritionist. I just want to help people. So this episode is foundational in the sense that I'm going to walk you through the Health Expert Business Model, which is a business model that we've taught to thousands of health coaches, practitioners, fit pros, and licensed health professionals so that you can have the impact and the predictable income that you really want. So here's the thing. If you don't have a framework to follow, then what are you doing, right? And are you getting the results that you desire in a way that is measurable and repeatable without burning yourself out? Because that's the key. I know I went into this business like, yay, laptop lifestyle, drinking margaritas on the beach, although I rarely drink alcohol. It would probably mostly be just coffee, but there's a lot of work that goes into building your business, especially when you don't have a framework to follow. It's like you're just throwing spaghetti at the wall to see what sticks. And it's been my own personal experience from starting my own practice and from watching the thousands of health practitioners in my community start theirs, that most of us leave school or get a certification, and then it's like we immediately go into freak out mode, like, I need to make money and I need to have a website and I can't possibly promote myself until I have all of the things just perfect. But it's like we're playing what I call whack-a-mole in your business because we don't really understand what aspects of your business matter. You know that carnival game whack-a-mole where you have that like mallet and you're banging down whenever the hedgehog pops up? It's like, today I'm going to do social media, and today I'm going to do Facebook, and tomorrow I'm going to do a webinar, and tomorrow I'm going to do a lead magnet, and I have to blog, and I have to do Facebook Lives, and I have to do all of these things. And it's like bam, 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 right? That's playing whack-a-mole in your business. And it's not a good feeling. This is what playing whack-a-mole looked like for me when I was first starting. I incorporated a business well before I needed to because I thought that I had to. I registered an HST number, which is my tax number, well before I needed to because I thought that I had to, which caused me a large amount of distress because I didn't actually know what I was doing. I borrowed money from my dad to build a website because I thought that I had to. I made business cards and brochures because how else was I going to get clients? I committed to a clinic rental lease for a year, which I had to bail out on early because I couldn't afford it. I held generic like Nutrition 101 and Healthy Eating 101 and all of those sorts of things that only my mom and her friends attended. She brought all her friends so that I wouldn't be by myself with just me and my mom. Social media wasn't huge back then. I started in 2007, but I did waste loads of time handing out my brochures to nearby businesses that I never got a response from. And maybe whack-a-mole for you looks similar. Maybe you think you need to create a website so that you spend all your time trying to build your own website, or better yet, waste a lot of money hiring a web developer before you have clarity on who your ideal client is, what your brand is, who you serve, how you help them, and the offer that you're actually inviting them into. You create business cards and set up your social media pages without a content plan or a semi-automated way to get those leads off of social media and onto your email list. You put together client packages based on an archaic business model that does not take into consideration the client's needs or your personal value, meaning you charge too little. Maybe you put together a lead magnet, but then comes the pressure of having to create ongoing content. You invest in fancy technology platforms because you think you need to. And then comes the big freak out because your credit card is maxed, your to-do list is a mile long, you're working really hard, and nothing is happening. You are not making any traction. And then our friends self-doubt and imposter syndrome come for a visit because you actually don't know what you're doing. You're just following what other people are doing and hope that it works. So this might sting a little, but it's true. It was true for me, and I'm sure that at some point it's been true for you. And I'll just say it's not your fault. You probably didn't go to school to learn business. You're here because you went to school to learn how to heal people from the inside out. And, Business 101, sales funnels and marketing and all of that good stuff never really came up. At least it didn't in my program in any sort of meaningful or helpful way. So if your heart is hurting a little bit right now based on what I just said, know that it wasn't too long ago that I was where you are, and what I'm going to walk you through will help you in terms of getting clarity and also giving a framework that you can pour your own business into. So you don't need a lot of followers on social media or a big email list to be successful. You don't even need to have a lot of client experience or technology know-how. It's been my experience that the only things you need are these 5 things to be successful. First and foremost, always, hands down, this is something that you don't pass go to collect $100. You need to know what you want. Too many people, I get on calls with them or Facebook Live and I'm like, so how much money do you want to make this year? What do you actually want from your business? So the first thing that you need to be successful is you need to know what it is that you actually want. What are you willing to spend the next 10 to 15 years of your life doing so that you can make the impact that you want to make, and why is having that impact important to you? Number 2, you need to know who you want to serve, like really know them, like obsessively know them, right? Spend time with them for free. These are your people. These are the people that you want to have an impact on. You need to become obsessed with understanding them. Number 3, you need a focused business model. We go by attract, nurture, launch, or attract, nurture, sell. Right? That is the model that we work by. You pick one strategy, you learn it, you implement it, you track it, you iterate it, and you improve. And you become obsessed with every aspect of this particular strategy. Because you can't be bopping around from strategy to strategy. Otherwise, you won't be able to go deep into one strategy and really learn it and master it, make it your own, and improve upon it. Number 4, you need the right mindset, patience and perseverance and resilience, and knowing that you are playing the long game. I'm going to walk you through a framework. I'm going to walk you through one of our front end and back end sales funnels in just a minute. But here's the thing. You have to be okay with playing the long game. If you are in a position where you can't pay your bills right now and that's too stressful for you, then you need to do whatever you need to do to take away that pressure so that you can play the long game. Because you are starting up a business, and most businesses aren't profitable in the first 90 days. Right? And so if you're in a spot right now where there's a tremendous amount of pressure on you, do what you need to do to alleviate that so that you can be patient and play the long game. And then number 5, the drive to take imperfect action. There are days where I don't feel like doing any work, but because I have a job, I show up to my job every day like it's my job. Right? Like it's my job to show up for my job. Just because I don't have a boss or someone that I report to, although I believe that I report to you guys. And so that if I don't show up and do my very best work, I'm disappointing you. And some days I just don't feel like it. And so because I know exactly what I want and the impact that I want to make and why I want to make it, and because I'm playing the long game, I'm able to show up and do the work and take imperfect action even when I don't feel like it. I'm able to step outside of my comfort zone and do the work because it's the impact that's driving me forward. It's having the kind of impact that I want to have on my own personal life. I want to live a very specific style of life, and I want to have a kind of impact that I feel is living up to my own potential. And so those are the 5 things that you need to be successful. So let me ask you a critical question. Do you understand the business of your business? Do you have a framework that you actually get so that you can take imperfect action, so that you can do the work and measure the key performance indicators, the KPIs that happen at each stage, so that you can evaluate them, iterate them, and then eventually scale your business based off of this sequence that you've created, this framework, this model that you've created. So it's okay if you've answered no to the question of, do you actually understand the business of your business? Do you understand the model that you are following in order to scale your business? And if you answered no, it's okay. There's no shame in that. I didn't either. I didn't understand the business of my business. It took me 2 years to figure out how to become profitable, and then another year of testing and iterating until I finally felt like I could really grow. That's 3 years. And so the good news for you is that you're listening to this podcast episode right now, and you get to skip over all of that bullshit, right? All of the mistakes that I made. So before I dive into the Health Expert Business Model, I want to mention a few things. There is no one right model to follow. There are plenty of business models that work. You just need to decide how you want to spend your time, what you want your business to look and feel like, and what model would work best with your lifestyle and your goals. The health expert business model that I'm going to explain to you, it's a framework. So there's no absolutes. You take the framework and you make it work for you. Maybe you send more emails, maybe you send less emails. It's a framework. It's not an absolute. Okay? The good news about having a framework, about having a model, is that when a trend changes, like how a couple years ago, ebooks and really cheap programs were the way to sort of grow an online business, where you would ascend people up a model versus just having a signature program and selling people into that via like a webinar, a lead magnet, or a consult, right? Things change, right? Trends change. Tried and tested marketing principles don't change. You just need to know what they are so you can apply them to the framework and shift your business so that you don't need to, throw the baby out with the bathwater, start from scratch and recreate the wheel. And it takes time. I don't care what anyone says. Creating a 6 or 7 figure business that runs without your direct involvement, like having a machine, takes time. It takes time because we were not trained to be CEOs. We were trained to be health practitioners. And so putting your business hat on and taking your healing hat off to be able to grow a 6 or 7 figure business does take time. Remember, you're playing the long game. So please be patient and give yourself a break. Okay? Okay. So now let's dive into the health expert business model. This model gives you the 30,000 foot overview, and it's going to give you clarity and steps so that you can focus on the actions to take instead of playing whack-a-mole, instead of doing random things. And so remember what I said: attract, nurture, launch. Okay. So again, if you haven't downloaded the Health Expert Business Model PDF, and you can find it on the show notes at lauriekennedy.com/19. You'll see it as soon as you download the Health Expert Business Model Blueprint that you actually don't even need a website to make this work. In fact, to start working with clients, you don't even need a large social media following or a big email list. So let me start off by explaining that there are 2 parts to a profitable health business. Your health business will have a front end and a back end. Part 1 is the front end and part 2 is the back end. The front end is what people can see. It's your social media platforms, it's your website, it's your Facebook group, etc. The front end is your first impression, it's your persona, it's your brand, it's the show, it's the gateway and opening to your world, to your funnel. Now, the back end is hidden. It's like the guts to the machine, so to speak. I think of my business as a machine. So we have my personal brand, which is me. That's what you see all over social media, right? That's my front end. Now, once you subscribe through a lead magnet, you are now in my world, right? You are now being put through what we call the machine, right? And it's not negative. It's just we've gotten to a place where a lot of my business runs on autopilot, like a machine, right? And if we don't keep feeding the machine and making sure that the parts of the machine are working, the machine will break down. It's not like I can walk away and never look at the machine again, right? We have to take care of the machine. And so the back end is your machine, right? It's your email marketing platform, it's your sales processes, it's your launch campaigns, it's the sequence that kicks off after a prospect enters your world into your funnel. And in order for them to find you and enter your world, you need to have a front end that is attracting them into your world 24/7, right? So your front end is all of the content, social media blogs and stuff that you publish in order to attract your ideal client. And then through a free offer like a lead magnet or a webinar or a challenge or whatever, you're now inviting them into your world. And now when they are in your world, they can transition into your back end, which is the selling phase of your machine. Okay, so once they're in your world, they've actually given you permission to market and sell to them. So your front end consists of what we call your edutaining persona, right? Your personal brand, which is educational and entertaining at the same time. Your free client attraction content. This is all of the content that you publish. It's free, and the intention is to use it to attract the right clients into your world. Then you have what we call a self-selected lead gen, which is your lead gen system. It's your lead magnets. It's the free offer that you're asking the person to put in their email address in exchange for content. And then once they're in your world, once they're on your email list, you immediately put them through a nurture sequence. Okay, so we have your personal brand, we have client attraction content. They go through a lead magnet and you put them through a nurture sequence. Once this is done, now they can move into a selling sequence. They move into the back end. Okay? So let's go through an example. So a person Googles how to get rid of leaky gut naturally and finds your blog and or let's say your video on YouTube. The blog and the video is your free client attraction content. And the blog or the video also includes a call to action to click here to get a free 7-day plan to get rid of leaky gut. That is your self-selected lead gen. Okay, they click the link, they subscribe. Now the person is on your email list and they're going through a series of nurture emails. This is the nurture phase. So that's all your front end. Right? After the subscriber has been nurtured, then they transition into your back end, which is your sales process. So before I dive into the next phase, which is the back end of your business, let's recap the front end phase. So it doesn't matter who your ideal client is. It does not matter what designation you have, whether you're a health coach or you're a nutritionist or a personal trainer or an aromatherapist or a Reiki practitioner. It doesn't matter how much experience you have. Okay? You need a way for people to easily find you, to try before they buy, so to speak. Okay? So that's why the front end is so important. That's why it's critical for you to consistently publish content that pulls in the right people that you want to work with. The content itself, your Insta stories, your Instagram, your Facebook personal page, your Facebook business page, your Facebook group, okay? All of that content is used to attract the right people, to pull strangers into your world. And after they consume your free content, which includes an offer for your lead magnet, they will then decide for themselves, they will self-qualify if they want to continue down the path with you, okay? So, and for those people who decide, yes, this is something that I want, and I'm willing to give you my email address in exchange for getting it, they're going to go through a nurture sequence where you introduce yourself and offer them more value. Here's the thing, every single health professional needs this. Even if you're working at a clinic or in a gym, because what I just described, your front end, that's your lead gen system. No leads, no clients. No clients, no money in the bank, and no impact. We need an automated 24/7 lead gen system, and that only happens when you properly set up your front end, okay? So now people are finding your content and subscribing to your email list. In the front end, it's all set up. You are consistently producing content that promotes your blogs and your lead magnets, and you're growing your email list every single week. Now what? How do we turn those subscribers and those social media followers into clients? Right? If you look at the Health Expert Business Model drawing that you can go and grab from thewbh.com/podcast-19, you'll see that after the nurture sequence of 3 emails, subscribers are then moved into your own chosen health expert sales funnel. In the Launch It Like a Boss mastermind program where we teach launching, we teach actually 4 different funnels, which are really sales sequences. So we teach the back end, right? We obviously help you set up your front end too, but what we really teach you is the step-by-step of how to get your back end set up. So these are the four health expert sales funnels or launches that we teach. So just a plain live launch, like a regular launch, a launch with a webinar, the consult launch, so how to enroll people via a consult, and then we even have one for direct sales. So if you're doing direct sales, how to enroll people through a live event. So in this episode, I'm going to walk you through the consult launch. Okay, so that's the health expert consult launch, because I believe that this sales funnel is the fastest and easiest way to grow a health business. So everything that I'm about to discuss now is part of your back end. It happens after the subscriber has completed the nurture sequence, and now it's time to invite them into transformation via a sales consult. Before I go any further, I want to say something. The funnel that I'm about to walk you through in its entirety, both the front end, which we've already discussed, and the back end, is a complete business model. You can grow a big ass business with just one signature program and a sales funnel like the one I'm about to explain. In fact, we do tens of thousands of dollars a month in sales via this exact sales funnel. So the mistake that I too often see health professionals make is that they don't take the time and make the investment to work with a mentor or a coach to learn the business model that feels right for them, nor do they take the time to actually implement it and stick to it. They jump ship from model to model without spending time working on one to make it work, because perhaps the first couple of times they tried it, they made no sales. So they thought, this must not be working for me. I'm going to go try something else, where you're just learning this stuff, right? It's totally normal, unfortunately, for you to run a launch or do your first 10 consults and not make any sales. But just stay the course. Stay the course with your chosen model and improve upon it, right? Every time you do it, you will get better and better. So maybe this health expert consult funnel that I'm about to talk to you about is a right fit for you, and mostly because you don't need any fancy tech to get started, and maybe it's not a right fit for you. Maybe you want to use another model, and that's totally okay. Just find the model that works best for you and commit to mastering it. That's all I ask. Please just commit to mastering it. So at this point, the prospect has been nurtured through your front end, and now it's time to transition them into what we call the consult funnel, right? So the consult funnel starts with what we've termed a push to book sequence. So your subscribers are now going to be instructed via a series of emails, usually 6 to 8 emails, to click the link inside those emails to book a free consult with you. So you're going to include 2 to 3 calls to action. Click here to book, click here to book, click here to book. You're going to include 2 to 3 calls to action in each of the 6 to 8 emails that usually get sent, every other day, every second day. So over the course of, 2 weeks or so. 2 to 3 weeks, and you're going to instruct the subscriber to book a consultation with you. You obviously include a link that sends the subscriber right to your online scheduler with you. Okay, so that is the push to book sequence, and it follows the nurture sequence. Then after the person books a consult with you, they're moved into the next series of emails that we now call the push to show sequence. These emails are really important because they are the reminder emails, and also they're very excitement based that motivates the prospect to actually show up. So we send the push to show emails 5 days out of the consult, 3 days out, 1 day out, and the morning of, right? So that's 1, 2, 3, 4 emails. You can send more, you can send less. Remember, this is not an absolute, this is a framework. This is what works for us. So I don't know about you, but nothing chaps my ass more than when people book a consult and they don't show up. That just really makes me angry. And so the push to show sequence that happens after somebody books a consult with you is critical, and it's intended to get more prospects to show up for the actual consult. Okay, so then you have the consult and you can throw up in your mouth a little bit because this is where you gotta sell them and ask for the sale, and either the person enrolls in your program or service package or they don't. And if they do, yay, congratulations, you have a new client, and that new client then gets moved into the client onboarding sequence. And you do that based off of your service package or your program that you've just now enrolled them into. And if not, if they've given you an objection or they want more time, you move them into a prospect follow-up sequence. Now, I'm lazy and I was the worst, like the absolute worst at following up post-consult. I just didn't care. I just don't like being on the phone with people. It wasn't that I felt like I was bothering them. It was just my time was better spent trying to get someone else into the consult, like a new person into the consult, because typically when people leave the consult and they haven't invested and enrolled right then and there, they're not going to. So we do recommend that you have a post-consult follow-up sequence. It can be anywhere from like 2 to 10 emails. You choose what feels best for you. And I would put more of your time, energy, and attention into getting new leads versus chasing people who didn't want to commit on the spot. So now you're done and done, right? Now we have, if we recap the entire thing, we have content that you're publishing on the regular, whether it's on social media or on your website. You're sending people from the consult to your lead magnet. They're subscribing or not. If they subscribe, they're going through your nurture sequence. After they go through the nurture sequence, you're putting them through the push to book sequence where you're instructing them to book a consult with you. They book the consult with you. Now they're moved into the push to show sequence. You have the consult, they buy or they don't buy. If they buy, they go into your new client onboarding sequence. And if they don't buy, they go into your post-consult follow-up sequence. All of these emails are written. They're mostly automated. Everything is repeatable and measurable. You can measure open rates of the emails. You can measure the click-through rates of the emails. You can measure how many leads you get and how many of those leads book a consult, how many people actually show up for the consult. Then once they show up, how many do you sell? You can track all of this. This is a real business. This is a model that you can track over time so that you, over time, know how much you can invest in paid traffic, Facebook ads, right? We can track everything. We know where your dollars are being spent and we know your return on investment. So the problem is, like I've said, is that most health professionals don't understand the business of their business. And so they're playing whack-a-mole, right? And they're throwing spaghetti at the wall to see what sticks. And then nothing works. And you feel really bummed out, right? And really upset because you're working so hard and nothing is happening, okay? And I get it. I totally get it. Like I said, it took me almost 3 years to get to a place where I understood the business of my business. And that's the reason why this episode is so important to me, and the reason why it should be important to you too, because we need to understand the business of our business, right? We can call ourselves entrepreneurs and business owners and CEOs, but if we don't really have a solid understanding of our business, of what makes our business work, then of course we feel like an imposter. Of course we feel like a fraud because we don't really have a clear understanding of what it is that we're actually doing, right? And it wasn't until I learned a business model and all of its nuances that I started to feel confident, that I started to feel empowered, because I understood the business of my business. And so I hope this episode was helpful for you, that you get to learn from my mistakes and my ignorance. And I just laid out for you a very simple and highly profitable health expert business model. And so now it's time for you to map your own business model based on the sequence that I just walked you through. And if you have any questions, you can always find me inside the Take Your Health Practice online Facebook group. You can also go into Facebook and just put in the search bar, Take Your Health Practice Online. You'll see the Facebook group. I'll also link to it in the show notes. And all of the info that we talked about today, you can find at LoriKennedyInc.com/19. Thank you so much for listening. Remember to subscribe to the Business of Becoming podcast so that you don't miss out on any new episodes, and I will talk to you real soon. Bye for now. I do hope you enjoyed listening to this episode of the Business of Becoming podcast. As always, you can find any resources and links mentioned on the show over on the show notes available on LoriKennedyInc.com/podcast. And remember to subscribe and leave a review in iTunes. Let me know what you loved most about this episode. And again, thank you for listening to the Business of Becoming podcast.